We're going to be putting up some fence to keep the kids in the yard. Trying to do this on a budget. We looked into getting a nice fence professionally installed and it's just cost prohibitive. So we're doing this ourselves, more of a farmyard style field fence. Going to put in a bunch of wooden posts, and to that end I picked up the county line post hole digger for the tractor. So we're going to go unpack that, get that put together and mount it up on the 3-point and see how it works. The auger here is sold separately from the post hole digger itself, just because there are different sizes. This is the 9-inch. You can also get a 6 or a 12-inch diameter auger. And the post hole digger itself is in this crate. So I've got to get those bands off, open this up, and then we'll get it out and look at how it goes together. So here's how it comes inside the crate. It's all packaged up in plastic, but I'll work on unpacking this and getting it together. Here are all the pieces. This main steel boom is by far the heaviest, and then the other yoke for the 3-point. The two red things are parking stand. The black one is a lever for being able to control or position the auger. And then we've got the gearbox, the shaft, a shield, and then hardware. And of course we have the manual as well, which I need to go take a read and see how to put this together. So to start, we need to put the pins in here for the lower link arms on the 3-point hitch. So those are here. There are jam nuts for one side, lock washers and regular nuts for the other side, and then this thing is for the PTO shaft. So I'm going to go get this stuff kind of loosely together here and see what's next. Alright, well this is just hand tight for now. Next step is to get this over to the tractor and get the other larger steel boom in the top link and kind of get it pinned together. There's a pin that goes in here. At this point, all the bolts there at the 3-point are tightened up. The gearbox is mounted. I bent the cotter pin back. The shield is in place. Next step is to slip the auger up in there, and then there's actually 2 bolt holes. Here's one, and then the other one's perpendicular. So I got to get the auger in there, put in one of these bolts, then spin it, and get the other one. Next is the PTO shaft. This is the end that goes to the gearbox. The other end goes to the tractor. We've got grease zerks here on both ends for the joints in here. I'm going to go ahead and grease those now, just because it'll never be easier than having this exposed like this. You'll notice this set screw here. That's after this collar slides onto the shaft on the gearbox. This set screw goes into a groove to prevent this from sliding off if the shear bolt snaps. So this is shear bolt protected. As opposed to slip clutch. Everything else I've got slip clutch, but this is a shear bolt. I'm also going to put grease in here just to make sure everything's sliding together smoothly. So a lot of fiddling here, getting the PTO shaft in, getting the set screw up here set. So let's see here. There's the shear bolt. And as we spin this around, let's see if I can get that set screw to show here. It's right there. So this nut on this screw is a little tricky. So you got to set this, which is an Allen thread, and then you got to work the nut to tighten down on it. And you don't want that pressing against the inner shaft. So you got to basically tighten it against the shaft, back it off a couple turns, then tighten the nut, and then without the shear bolt in there, make sure everything still spins freely. So that was a little tricky. The other thing I spent a bunch of time on was checking the length on the PTO shaft, making sure I got enough overlap here at the joint, at least 6 inches, and that it was going to work over the whole range. You actually have to take the auger off for that so that I could lower this down to the ground. Probably would have just been easier to not put the auger on, but I was following the step-by-step procedure in the manual. So, you know, it's almost like wasting time to put it on to have to take it off to check the shaft alignment. But at any rate, up to the last step here now on getting this ready to operate is filling up the gearbox with oil. This is the fill level plug, so you take this out and you basically fill it up through here until oil comes out. Last thing I'll need to do is set up the control handle, and then these brackets here are for the stand when you take it off of the 3-point. So let's get some oil in here and then we'll get ready to run. So we are now fully assembled and ready to go. Just a couple little things. I mean, this is made for a price point, of course. I couldn't put the mounting screw for the manual holder in the center slot there because it interfered with being able to put the cap on. The other thing is this is made for Cat 1 or Cat 2 hitches. And if you look here, see a Cat 1 top link is a 3/4 inch pin, and a Cat 2 is a 1-inch pin, and so there's actually space there. I may try to make a bushing or something out of a piece of pipe to go over that, to just make that up to the 1-inch size that it would be for a Cat 2. There's nothing in the manual describing that or the fact that that's like that, at least not that I saw. So that is something that, you know, ideally you would put a bushing in there and not have that extra play in that connection. Otherwise, this is set to go and try out. So I figured it out. No need to make a bushing. Turns out once you free this up from sticking in the paint, if you spin it around, it's got a Cat 2 top here, which is how it came. And then if you get it spun, there's the Cat 1 pinhole right there. So all set. We'll hook it through that pinhole and we'll be good to go. So for the price point, this is actually a pretty good auger. These are removable and replaceable teeth, and this is a removable screw tip on the end of the auger that can also be replaced. So that's actually pretty good, and that's set up like a bigger, heavier duty drill rig in terms of how that's built, which is nice. What's not as ideal is that there's just tack welds. The auger flight is not welded continuously to the stem, so that's all open. And then as you work around, there's a tack weld there. So it's not welded everywhere. Here's a weld on the back. Not welded everywhere, but it is welded up relatively well. We'll see how it holds up. So I did test the post hole digger out off camera, set one fence post here, drilled in 3.5 feet into the ground. Definitely way better than having to dig that hole manually. Took it nice and slow. I think I'll just make a separate video of drilling and setting fence posts because there's 35 more to do. But otherwise, it works as advertised, and I think it's going to be a really helpful tool for getting this project done, saving a lot of manual labor.